two other cars earlier in the race, but we got a puncture in that session, and we've changed the tyre and hopefully chased down Track Club now.
So how second-hand does it feel when you're driving it?
It feels fine. We changed the brake pads in my session, new tyres. It feels just as good as it was at the start of the race.
Well, why do you think you've attracted so much attention from other cars? Is it a case of the particular speed of the A3 class is not fitting with others, or would you just put down to luck?
I'd say luck. Haven't really been following it on the TV and the commentary. I've been in the garage watching the live timing.
So is this your first time here in Dubai, or are you a veteran?
My first time in a 24-hour race. I signed up yesterday and I only did the qualifying, so haven't had long in the car, and I really enjoyed my first 24-hour.
Unfortunately, your car is just... is this your car? No, it's the other car. It's 105 just come past, so very confusing. Two cars racing, 105, 135. This is the other machine, orange and white. So what are you normally doing then if you're not doing 24-hour races?
Well, I've done Lotus Cup UK for the last 3 years, and I'm going to do it again in my Lotus 211 this year, and I'm very thankful to my dad for supporting me for that.
Yeah, always give Dad a shout out. It's a checkbook that counts.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Cheers.
And we need to work on Ryan, so making sure he is listening to the radio commentary, not winning himself many fans at radiolemans.com. But there's a chance to convert him.
I missed that completely. I was actually concentrating on something else, which might well be exactly what he said.
Yes, he's only 19. He hasn't yet been introduced to the wonders of radiolemans.com.
I think he needs to be introduced to JT Capel. He knows which way he's posted. But he did say thanks to Dad.
It's worth keeping an eye on the gap for the lead of the race overall, because Sven Muller's on a bit of a charge since that last code 60. We mentioned Alfred Renauer still at the wheel. We said Alfred Renauer at the wheel, still at the wheel of the 911 pre-code Herbert Porsche. Sven Muller also still at the wheel, because both drivers have been driving for quite a long time now. It was Abdullah, you said it was Al Faisal who took over the number 3, didn't you, Johnny? Yes, so we've got that one. But the gap first to second is now down to just 69 seconds, and it needs to be a bit more than a second a lap now because of the various code 60 periods. But that last code 60 didn't help Herbert Motorsport as much as it helped Manthey Racing, and that was largely, I think, because there were some cars that 60 kilometres an hour was slower, and because you're not really allowed to overtake under the code 60, some cars got a little bit more delayed than others during the neutralisation. But in any case, the closing interval for Sven Muller, or whoever takes over that number 12 car for the remaining hour and a bit of the, or hour and a lot, nearly 2 hours of the race, have to close at a rate of just over a second a lap. So that's the kind of number to keep in mind. The last laps of both cars were pretty much identical from Sven and from Alfred Renauer. And in terms of when we can expect the next set of pit stops, that's going to be controlled more or less by the clock rather than the amount of fuel on board. So we'll be seeing both Sven and Alfred Renauer, I guess, coming in round about the 12:30 mark, or just before, which means that they won't exceed their 2-hour driving limit, and nor will the incoming driver, because they'll be able to get to the checkered flag. The trick with putting Al Faisal into the Black Falcon car means that when that car next comes into the pits, it can go to either Mauro Engel or to, mine's gone blank, Jelmer Berman, and either of those can then take it to the flag after the pit stop. So we may see a shortish stop, or sorry, a shortish stint from Al Faisal, and then a charge right at the end from, I would guess, Jelmer Berman, for not quite 2 hours, but an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes, something like that.
Well, hour and 49, or just under an hour and 50 minutes remain in the 2017 Hankook Dubai 24 hours.
Back on board, we went on the live stream there briefly with the treble 7 Schwede Motorsport car with Bertram Hornung currently driving that Porsche Cayman GT4. There it is from the outside, and the camels are being prepared. Now this will be all to do with the victory ceremony as the victors are led towards the podium.
They've already got the Mercedes badges on there.
On the so they did, yes. Well, I think they might have to change those the way we're going. It's Porsche, Mercedes, but that was another good spot. If Porsche manage this will be the first win at Dubai for the new 991 spec car. They've won it many times with the 997 iteration. of the GT3 car.
It's not really a Mercedes badge. I was only kidding.
Yes. I see what you were saying, though. It was something.
Just feel the kind of Porsche PR fingers hovering above telephones. No. It's all right, guys.
It did look all very silver arrows there for a moment, but then as the camel turned, I realised,
they can very easily get the people like that, you know.
That needs to be left right there. I'm not going to even entertain that as being funny. Ralph Renaud continuing then to lead on lap 5.36 from Sven Muller. Abdelaziz Al-Faiz all set for a driver change in the not-too-distant future, and Christopher Haase in 4th position. There's a very good-looking car, the number 27 GP Extreme Renault RS01. Fred Fatien still driving that, 2nd place now in a 6am. And I have to say, when we spoke to Stuart Hall in the middle of the night, he wasn't too happy because I think they'd just come out of a spell of 2 hours where that car was not going sweetly at all. But it's looking much improved now, and the 27 car is just working its way through into turn number 9 and heading on to the long straight, Paul.
So off they go, and the gap first to second is down a little bit more on that lap. The second lost by Alfred Renaud. The issue is going to be when they come into the pits, who they're going to hand it over to. I would think Matteo Cairoli will take over the number 12, and the logical conclusion will be to put, I suppose, either Brendan or Robert Renaud. I think, seeing as the way that Robert has, or that Brendan Hartley has fitted into the team very much as a team player, I would expect it will go to Robert Renaud to take it through to the flag. Not to disregard anything that Brendan has done, but the efforts that have been put in by the rest of the team throughout the whole of last season, and the fact that it is their car, Brendan very much playing the role of guest, and I think really will have enjoyed his time here, and potentially looking at his first ever 24-hour race win, but we've got that slight matter of an hour and 3/4 to get through before we get to that point.
Just bring Nick Damon very quickly into the mix to add your thoughts on this subject.
Absolutely don't disagree with Paul, but I think what happened was that last Code 60 changed their ideas. I think they were going to pull Alfred in probably before now and replace him with Robert and then move to Brendan, but obviously kind of lost one change now, and it is Robert who is suited and ready to go, not with helmet, but with his bracelet on. As everyone knows, the Renaults know whenever they can, they get themselves into their shorts and t-shirts. So my guess is it's going to be Robert to take to the end. As our 2nd place car comes down towards me, I can see the 12 Manthey Racing Porsche, and that will be a full service. I shall carry on walking. There's a driver change as you expected. I think I can see the Italian flag on the driver's waistband, which would mean it would be Matteo. So they are doing a full service change tyres, and of course they can get to the end on this. Obviously probably not with one set of fuel, but with these set of tyres and this driver. So yes, this is the last roll of the dice for the 12 guys. Yeah, the surprise is that they didn't leave it out for another 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They're setting it up now to send him to the checkered flag as soon as they can.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nick, down in the pits. I'm delighted to say, by the way, that we've been joined by Ed Jones in the commentary box, who you were born in Dubai, so this is very much your home track. Although you are a UK driver and registered on the United Kingdom licence, this is home for you. Just make sure that we can hear you.
Yeah, exactly. I was born in Dubai, raised here, and started off my racing career in Dubai, Jebel Ali kart track, and then Dubai Autodrome right behind us, so this is very much home for me. And I actually competed in the Dubai 24 Hours last year, which was my first ever GT race, and actually first time in a GT car, so
right,
all at once, yeah.
Very much not doing GTs though into the new year. We'll talk about that in a little while. But are you here then just to meet and greet a few people and just enjoy the event without the pressures of driving?
Yeah, exactly. I was back here for the off season because my family still lives here. And I'm actually going back to the States on Sunday, but I thought I might as well come down, and there's a lot of people I know from when I used to race here, so it's nice to see them all, and this is always a great spectacle, the 24-hour race of Dubai, and I'm hoping that I'll be racing here even more in the future.
That would be fantastic, yeah. I mean, looking back through your career, you've done a lot of single-seater racing. I certainly remember you in British Formula 3.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's 4 years ago now, 2013. But a champion in European Formula 3 Open, which is the F3 Open kind of came out of the Spanish Championship, didn't it?
Exactly.
And then it developed into a more European-wide series. But, I mean, this is thoroughly exciting for you heading into 2017, an IndyCar drive with Dale Coyne Racing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we moved over to the States in 2015 to race in Indy Lights, with the English team as well, Carlin Motorsport, who I was racing with in 2014 in Europe. And first season we finished third, and then last year, well, 2016, we won the championship. And the way it works over there with a scholarship system, it puts you straight into IndyCar. And going into my first year with Dale Coyne and Sebastian Bourdais is my teammate, I think it's the perfect place to be. And for a rookie as well, I have the perfect goalpost as Sebastian there to help me and to learn from. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be very tough, but yeah, something I've always aimed for, and to finally be there is great.
A really good season for you in 2016, though, as well as Indy Lights champion. It feels like your career is really on the rise. You're 21 now. Yeah. Obviously, plenty of years we hope of racing to come, but it's looking quite good at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Especially moving into IndyCar this time. I think there's a lot of drivers, a lot of very experienced guys there that are almost coming towards the end of their careers, and so for me to get in there with a strong teammate, as I said, I can build a great platform for myself and hopefully take over from these guys that have been there a while, and try and present myself as having a long career in IndyCar.
Stay there, don't go away. We're going to just cross to Nick Damon in the pit lane, who's now joined by Sven Muller, fresh from the number 12 Manthey Racing Porsche.
Sven, you tipped off to get a cup of water. Hot work in the car then?
Yeah, really. I did now a double stint in the car. We also tried to do double stint with the tires because of the code 60, but unfortunately I got a puncture on the rear left, so we had to pit in.
So how much longer would you have stayed out without that puncture?
Yeah, I mean, till out no fuel.
That's a great way. So you've got this chase, you're trying to chase down the other Porsche 911 of the Herbert team. Can you catch them, or do you need them to have a problem?
No, I don't think that we can catch them. These guys did a really good job. No problems. We had only a little problem, and in these endurance races are almost sprint races. And if you have a little issue, this can cost you the win.
Sven, thank you very much. Enjoy your drink. Sorry, Johnny, back to you.
No, thank you, Nick. We need to get that interview in, certainly. So Mattia Cairoli is the new driver at the wheel of the Manthey Racing car, but as a result of that stop, the 12 machine has now fallen off the lead lap. Ed, it's interesting that clearly your focus is on single-seater racing at the moment, but you have an interest for GTs. I'm not sure whether it was always the case, though, that single-seater drivers always had their mindset on Formula 1 or, GP2 series, certainly. But now it pays you to be multi-skilled, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the way it is with single-seaters these days, there's so limited seats in any series. They really got to open up, broaden your horizons, and be able to drive in GT cars, because that's, all the manufacturers are there as well, and there's some great drives available, and some of these races are great to watch, and ones I've always wanted to be part of. Dubai 24 Hours, I got to tick that off the list last year, and there's always Le Mans and WEC Championship, so and this championship as well. So no, in the future I'm going to try and do some more GTs. We almost did Daytona this year as well. So I'm open to racing anything really, and I look forward to seeing what the future brings.
Yeah, living in Miami now, so only down the road to Daytona Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
I mean, would you think about prototypes as well? I guess so, because it seems like you don't need to adapt your brain too much to get out of a single-seater into a prototype, which is so reliant on downforce. Yeah, exactly. The prototypes are very close to single-seaters now, with the downforce and the style of driving, that I think it's a lot easier with the transition. Especially when I jumped into the Porsche Cup car last year here. Initially it was a little bit difficult with just so much more weight, and you had to wait a lot longer for everything, but it's a different style of driving and another style that I enjoy doing, and
you know, I guess the hardest thing that I found was, you know, my first stint I ever did was in the night, and just the whole experience of that was just so different from anything else I'd done with the single seaters that yeah, I loved it. And yeah, it's very difficult, and I really respected a lot more of how the guys always do it, especially at other tracks such as Le Mans as well, where you have very little light. That it makes it even more difficult.
Although in fairness, Le Mans 24 Hours nowadays has 60 cars. You had, I mean, I'm not sure at the time when you went out in the night, but it must have been 90 plus.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a way to get used to multi-class racing.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I think I was quite fortunate that I was in the Cup car. That obviously it wasn't as fast as the GT3s, but it was still one of the cars up there. And I just, you know, with the slower cars out there, I can imagine that's probably the hardest part of being a driver in one of those, because
in a little Clio,
the car's passing at such a high speed. The differentiation is massive, and it makes it a lot more difficult.
This is a real driver's circuit, though, isn't it? I haven't yet met someone who doesn't like this place.
No, I love this track. Actually, my first ever car race was here in a Radical when I was 15. So yeah, it's got great series, great sections, and hopefully there should be more races around here, in my opinion. And yeah, I think we'll see that. You know, they have the Super Trofeo Championship coming to Dubai in the next month as well, and hopefully there'll be some more races.
So tell me your plan now as we work our way to the middle part of January. You're busy testing, I guess, are you?
Yeah,
or you will be?
I go back on Sunday morning, well, tomorrow morning, back to Miami, and our first test days at Sebring on the 24th and 25th of January. Okay. So that's the first time I'll be driving with the team, and you know, adapting to everything, learning the pit stops, fuel saving, and all the new things to me, which is going to be the biggest challenge for my first race in IndyCar.
And then round the streets of St. Pete to kick things off.
St. Pete, you know, the first 2 rounds, you know, St. Pete and Long Beach, two very difficult street circuits. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I won at St. Pete twice in Indy Lights and once at Long Beach, so those are two good circuits for me. But yeah, and you know, Long Beach is for me one of the best races in America. Such an amazing atmosphere, and you know, a lot of history there. And also they have the GT races as well in America. That's another thing I've also been looking at. So yeah.
The WeatherTech Sports Car Championship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of opportunity for you at the moment, especially at only 21 years old. We wish you well for this season, first of all, and obviously all of us at RadioLeMans.com will thoroughly enjoy seeing where you go next.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll be here next year.
That would be great.
Racing at 24 Hours of Dubai.
Yes, it promises to be another race. What I can never understand is you come to the first event of the year, and on the back of the programme for this event it says we've got a date sorted for 2018 already, so you can fit that into your diary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ed Jones, thank you very, very much indeed. Congratulations on such a great season in 16. We wish you well for this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going into IndyCar with Dale Coyne Racing. Ed Jones, who was born in Dubai, now lives in Miami and set for a very busy year. Now, back to the matter in hand with news from Paul Truswell that there's one more pit stop each for the number 911 and the 12 and the 3, in fact. So that's your top 3 cars all expected into the pits one more time.
Yes, that's not to say they're imminent, but it was interesting, and that was why it was good to hear from Nick Damon and from Sven Muller, because that car just coming in a little bit too soon to be able to make the rest of the race. I don't know he would have gone till the fuel ran out, in fact, but he probably would have done if he could, because he would have had to have stopped in order to take his mandatory 2-hour limit. But having got Matteo Cairoli at the wheel of the car now, I don't think Matteo has got enough fuel aboard to get the car to the finish without a further stop. So it'll be one more stop for that car and one more stop for Alfred Renauer in the leading car. But I mean, that will be 2 evenly spaced stops, whereas for the Manthey car, it'll very much be a splash and then dash. For the Black Falcon Mercedes in 3rd place, they have one more stop to take, and we'll wait and see whether Abdul Aziz Al Faisal gets out of the car. He won't be able to get to the finish, so yes, he will have to get out at the final stop and hand it over to probably Jelmer Berman. And then just to round off, the Audi, which is in 4th place, also has one further stop to make, and that just rounds through the driver rotation quite nicely for Joe Osborne to manhandle that wrestling with a bear Audi, which doesn't have any power steering, as Ryan Ratcliffe told us, so Joe will be able to have the pleasure of taking it to the checkered flag. Graham Goodwin, welcome back.
I will be delighted with that stint, won't it? Yes, a significant change of position and a significant class, because moving up into 2nd position in A6AM on track is this car we're seeing on the live stream, number 22, the Gravity Racing Mercedes-Benz in the Hansa Christian Kelders, has overtaken Fred Fratien's GP Extreme Renault. That's a 9th position overall, but it's for 2nd position, podium position therefore, in the A6AM contest. So leads Fred Fatien at the end of the previous lap by 2.9 seconds, and a little further back is the 4th place car. So the 3 A6AM, 2, 3 and 4 in class, all on the same lap, separated by about 40 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, and that was a good little battle actually with the SLS car getting through. Hope you enjoyed that on the live stream whilst we had Ed Jones live in the booth. Now, Renault, Cairoli, Al Faisal are your top 3, and 26.5 seconds is the gap between the number 3 Black Falcon Mercedes and that Manthey Porsche, but the gap is growing at this stage of the race. Christopher Haase for Optimum Motorsport, really hoping something happens to one of those 3 cars up ahead. Optimum's opportunity of a podium slowly slipping away. They are 3 laps behind Cairoli and Al Faisal right now. The IMSA Performance Porsche, number 76, driven by Raymond Narak. Really impressed with the IMSA Performance outfit. Not regulars here in Dubai, I think it's fair to say, but nevertheless showing that the Porsche 991 GT3 is the chassis to have. Never won here, although Porsche are the team that, or the car maker that have won more times than anybody else. We're yet to have a non-German car, by the way, win this race. It's always either been BMW, Mercedes, Audi or Porsche.
108 TCR leading car, I think it still is it not? It is indeed. Is soaking up a penalty. It's looks like a quite substantial one at that, 36th position overall. Those of you watching the live stream can see the Cadspeed A-Tech car. And just to reiterate, this could be a accumulation of penalties all taken in one. The car will be able to roll down to its pit box, does so now, fairly clearly front-wheel drive from the spin out of the box. So
as it has to be a TCR car, of course. Heading in the direction of Bruce Jones, but getting there first is Joe Osborne out of the number 14 car, Bruce.
Joe Osborne is out of the number 14 car, but it's about to get in. Well, sometime soon, you're going to take the final stint, but I gather it's a car that's a little harder to drive than it was at the start.
Yeah, and power steering went on my last stint. So rather surprisingly into turn 6, turned in, it was all happy, and suddenly I thought the whole world had ended, and suddenly I had to kind of summon some muscles that I'd never used before, so yeah, not very pleasurable.
So, right, into the closing stages of the race, you're talking about muscles that you don't have, but how tired are you at this point, particularly knowing the challenge you've got coming up?
Not too bad, I've had about 30, 40 minutes sleep. Stuff like that keeps you awake anyway. I feel all right, physically good. We've got John here from Boomerang Fitness doing a mega job, keeping us going. Ryan's done a mega stint without the power steering as well. He absolutely shone to it, did 2 hours, and he was quicker than me, so really, really impressive, the little Welsh wizard.
Well, you're very close to the podium, but it's agonisingly just sitting there in 4th place, but clearly top Audi, so that's a big feather in your hat.
Yeah, last year we finished 4th overall as well. It's the worst position to finish on the whole grid, so I'm quite happy to wish him bad luck on the top 3. I don't mind if it's unsportsmanlike.
Well, in the final hour or thereabouts, I think that's fair. Off you go. Thanks very much, Joe.
Cheers.
So Joe Osborne about to get into the 14 car, as Bruce quite rightly corrects me. Christopher Haase nearing the, not quite the end of his stint necessarily, but we do need to fit one more stop in for the 14 car. Likewise, the 3, the 12 and the 911 that are 3rd, 2nd and 1st respectively. Just mentioned the fact that the IMSA Performance car and team hadn't been at Dubai. I don't think have been at Dubai in recent years, but they have had success not that long ago. 2010, Graham Goodwin.
2010, they won the race. They won the race. Now, I'm actually just trying to look back and see whether or not there's been many more appearances, but they did win the race back in 2010 in their pomp. Romain Narak, part of that squad, in fact, that year. Very different looking livery, very different looking squad, and you sort of see signs of something emerging here again, don't you? They've been reasonably quiet on the international front of the last season or so. But good to see Romain Narak back in a paddock. Always a man very focused on his racing, but taking a great deal of pleasure in it. And nice as well to see a couple of different names. Jann has impressed me very much. We've seen Maxime Jousse in various endurance races, and for that matter the Carrera Cup Middle East as well, but good to see him coming back in a 24-hour race. Let's wait and see what emerges from that squad. Could be interesting.
I'm told, by the way, that the penalty for the number 108 Audi was actually the penalty was picked up for speeding in the fueling area.
That won't have gone down well.
No, obviously the pit lane speed limit continues into the fueling loop, because there are people mingling around there, making sure that cars are in their correct boxes before they get filled, and you've got a mechanic on the actual pump as well. So it's important that that speed limit is adhered to. They then feed their way back out into pit lane proper, cross another white line, and that indicates to the driver and to the officials that you can go as fast as you like after that point, back to racing speed. Over the line there going Abdelaziz Al Faisal in the third placed Black Falcon car, just putting another lap on a Honda Integra and one of the many little Clios. That might be the battered and bruised one, actually, that has all the tank tape on the rear of it, the number 112.
I think just two remaining in the running at the moment. The 172, by the way, has rejoined after the incident that stopped the car out, I think, turn 11, wasn't it? After a clash with the 178, what we believe, certainly from the message on screen. But and there's trouble again, and it's another car with heavy frontal damage, I'm afraid.
And that is the sequence of corners going through 3, 4 and 5. So it's, what number do you think it is, Graham?
340.
340.
That is the bucket list car, isn't it?
The bucket list BMW F30 340i, yes.
We go straight to code 60, unsurprisingly. That'll be the 21st code 60, if I've not missed one since Paul's last update.
No, you haven't, correct.
You can just see, just in the shot, if you're on the stream, just how much there is in terms of marbles around that circuit.
Yeah, that's the main straight, to give you an indication. Look to driver's right, to the left of the screen as well, away from the racing line, with all those large balls of rubber that work their way to the edge of the circuit. So the 340 car is 52nd overall, or at least it was before this incident, and currently Theo van Vuren, the South African, at the wheel of that car.
Flatbed is rolling.
And let's hand to Nick Damon very quickly, because it looks like preparations for the leader about to come in, Nick.
It's interesting, because prior to the Code 60 going on, we watched the 911 Pregat Herberth pit. They had sort of cleared the chairs, like they were going to pull the car in, and the big sort of beer barrel of special, not particularly water anymore, but cooling was there with its pressurised hoses. Now, it looked like they were going to do a fluid top-up. Well, what's happening now is the tyres being moved out of the garage and into their normal position in the pit lane. The car is coming towards me, it's stopping a second now. It will be Robert Renaud getting in. I can see Hartley here in a very fetching pair of denim shorts, quite long cut, but he is not getting ready to get in the car. So it's Renaud replacing Renaud, and they have parked the car past where the you could then quit into. They're not going to do the fluid top as they were going to do, but of course they will need to go through the pits again to get enough fuel to get to the end. So they will, I'm sure, do 2 stops. This first one, which has already happened and gone through, and they are one of the first cars in, so they will have no queue at the petrol station. And this is they are gaining time in this one because they've done their pit stop under purple, but they will need a second fuel stop. And the question is, will the combined give them more or less of a lead over the number 12?
The man that can definitely answer that question is Paul Truswell, who stepped away for a spot of early lunch, but he'll be able to look into that as soon as he returns. So Renaud Alfred Renauer switching for Robert Renauer, who now takes that car to the fueling area. Matteo Cairoli likewise, and we reckon, Graham, that the 340 car has turned right when it really should be thinking about turning left.
I think we can see almost certainly the evidence of the dents. Just if you're watching the live stream, the gentleman in the reflective jacket standing just before a heavy dent in the barrier, and I think that car has clipped curb. The car has snapped to the right.
There's also a dent further back as well. I'm looking at the wheel or the tyre marks, but there are tyre marks later on as well.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few moments through that sequence of fast right and left sweepers, it looks like, and it's difficult to ascertain which of the tyre marks left by the 340 BMW. But yeah, I think it's slapped into the barrier, probably front left first, and been spat back out again. Thankfully not onto the track, but into that significant runoff area.
This is the 14 coming back in.
Almost being pushed along here by one of our camera cars.
That's only just been out.
So this is the WRT Audi, is it not?
That's the 14, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the 14 there with the
That's the
WRT
Optimum.
behind it. It's just the camera car number 4. So 2 R8s in together. And the 14 car, we reckon's only just been in. Well, no, Joe Osborne...
It's going to be fuel only.
For 14?
Yes.
OK.
They're just going to top the fuel up.
Well, we know Joe Osborne was prepping for a stint, but maybe not this early on. And what about the number 4 car? Is that going to continue all the way down to the fueling area as well? No, the 4's going to stop at its apron, and the 14 does carry on, as I think you quite rightly say.
It's either soaking up a penalty, goes straight
there it
for
goes,
fuel.
yeah. Disappeared for a little while out of my eyesight and then popped back into my sight, turning right. Bruce Jones has some news on the number 3 car.
Well, yes, Johnny, yes and no. As Hubert Hout just started walking into the garage. In fact, I was about to try and catch Sean Breslin, the team boss at Black Falcon, say it's all calm, you can talk me through what you're doing to the end of the race, and then suddenly you can see the tides are changing around, and Hubert Cave got his helmet on, he's now taken it off. Number 3 went through to get fueling under this code 60. But this is how teams, even at this late stage in the race, have to keep thinking on their feet. They have to be ready for all eventualities. And now, calm reigns in Black Falcon. There was a brief flurry of excitement, but Hubert's taken his helmet back off. So don't expect them in any time soon for that final pit stop. Abdulaziz Al Faisal will hand over, Hout will take over, but just not yet.
OK, and that number 3 car happily being fueled then, just out of Bruce's sight. Likewise, the Optimum car. Marcel Fessler was in to stop at the team garage and then continue on into the fueling area as well. And we saw the 4 car do likewise with Robin Freins at the wheel of that. And Freins quite a bit further down than the sister car, 16th position and 8th in A6 Pro. The better placed Belgian Audi Club WRT machine is 6th in A6 Pro and 6th in the overall standings.
We're going to continue under code 60 until at least 12:44. That is another 5 minutes away. There's barrier damage that will need attention. So it's at least 12:44. And at the moment, no work underway on that barrier, so it may well be longer than that. We have an hour and 21 minutes left in the race.
How badly damaged that Armco barrier is, if it's just a slight ding, then they may be able to hammer that out. Sometimes, though, as Armco barriers are designed to give, then the struts that keep up that panel of corrugated steel need to be replaced as well.
I think if you have a look again at the shot, we saw the long shot of the car in the background, the rescue vehicles in the background, and have a look at the vertical supports, you're going to see that one is very considerably out of alignment.
Right, OK. So that will have to be assessed to see whether it can be propped up with a very large wedge of wood or whether it has to be stripped out and re-put in, and that can be a case of just dropping it into a hole that's already there, or I mean, we have been gone through a situation in Abu Dhabi last month where new posts had to be put into position with fresh concrete, and we had a good half an hour to 40 minutes whilst that was setting. Now the driver, I understand, is still in the car at this stage, so that is the concern for the 340 machine. And it will have been a big incident for Theo van Vuren. Very little time to kind of prepare yourself for the impact because the Armco barrier is very close to the track on driver's right side. These BMW F30s are built very strongly. It's an SP3 GT4 car, but far better from a precautionary standpoint to make sure that the driver is comfortable in there not to get him out in a hurry. So we're under code 60 again, now 21st of the race. I think it's easily going to be another 10 minutes or so before we go racing again, and there is an hour and 19 and a half minutes to go. You're tracking back through IMSA Performance and their history at this race.
Keen to see whether or not they did much more here, but they did win the race, but I also say in 2010.
Yeah, there have been 4 victories for teams running Porsches through the years. On 3 separate occasions, we've had wins for the Mercedes-Benz SLS, but not yet for the AMG, which really only debuted last year at this event. And much was hoped for the brand new AMG in 2016. I think it was a little bit too early on for that car, though. Because
actually, not unlike what happened with the debut of the SLS, where there was a bit of a meltdown in the first season. I think more or less all the cars suffered pretty substantial damage, but we've seen, haven't we, over the last almost 23 hours now, just how easily that can happen.
There have been 3 wins for BMWs. In fact, in 2006, the first time this event was run, Dubai Motorsport coming home in a BMW M3 ahead of everyone else. The M3 CSL with Dieter Quester, Hans-Jochen Stuck, Philipp Peter and Toto Wolff. The winners in the 2006 edition of the race. That was followed the following year with a BMW Z4 Coupe victory, and BMW have won it on another occasion with the Need for Speed by Schubert Motorsport Z4. And of course, finally, there was a win for Audi last year in 2016, the Audi R8 from Belgian Audi Club Team WRT. Just hearing that the driver of the 340 car is now in the medical vehicle that's on the scene, so that can now be quickly returned to the medical centre to make sure that that the 340 pilot, Theo Van Vuren, is okay, and Nick Damon is watching more pit stops.
More importantly, the 911 has done what we thought it might do and has come back down the pit lane for a second slug of fuel, so it will have as much fuel as anyone else. It's made 2 stops now during this code 60, which will be interesting to see where it comes out in relation to the 12, which will have to stop again for some sort of fuel at some point. I don't think you can get to the end. And the Silverstein Super Wing just stopped in front of me, the 207 car, and there was some excellent electronic work there. They had managed to tape up a connection for the rear lights wrongly. It was quite obvious, so they had to break it apart with two sets of big pliers and a big pair of shears, and then kind of cobble it together in basic first form physics way.
I like it. That's the sort of mechanical work that I can just about understand, Nick.
No lump hammer, unfortunately. Everything else was there.
Or cable ties, or pop rivets. But we've seen plenty of those through the course of this race with Clios and what else? Big dings for various cars, let's face it. And the tank tape is there as evidence on many of them. Now, from one end of the pit lane to the other, and Bruce?
Well, I'm talking to a very happy-looking driver, Alexander Toril. You've got out of the 68 Porsche from Black Falcon, leading the 991 class. You handed it over to Saudul Faisal. Should it be easy from here now?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty good, sweet race, to be honest. Pretty calm down, no scary moment. For the moment, looks really good. I think we have still the 4 laps gap till P2. So Saudul Faisal just need to drive the car home and keep it safe.
And you have to sit in the pits with your fingers crossed.
Yes, of course. The whole, I think it's 1 hour, 15 minutes, we will completely cheering for him. But like I said, I think if he doesn't do any mistake, he keeps calm down, we should be good for us to keep the car safe and bring it home.
Now, what are your thoughts about the Dubai 24 Hours? It seems to be a race that gets bigger every year.
Yes, honestly, it's my first year here, my first experience in Dubai, and it's pretty awesome, to be honest. It's really hard with the traffic. I have Nordschleife experience, I have experience in other series, but I've never seen such an amount of traffic like here, and this really makes you to drive faster, but also taking care about the other cars. So I think it's experience, I guess, I will repeat next year.
Let's hope so. Thank you, and best of luck.
Thank you very much, and welcome.
Very enthusiastic Mr. Toril there, and great to catch up with him with the BMW, the 340 bucket list car, then now being stretchered off after that impact, as it had rear damage as well. The boot is open on that car, and that might just be as a result of the frontal impact, actually, that's popped the boot open. So Well, cars are okay. They can be fixed. More concern at the moment for Theo van Vuren, who is being rushed to the medical centre. We hope just as a precautionary measure, but it was the medical crews taking their time to get Theo out of that car just to make sure that he was comfortable after a moment that will have come very quickly indeed. A big shock, I'm sure, and the Armco barrier now can be turned to in terms of getting that repaired as quickly as possible.
Yeah, cars are being directed across the infield to avoid the debris. Very sensible. Will be dusty there, so they'll have to watch that with very mucky tyres when we get back to green flag running. Gives us a little while though. We had a lengthy discussion, didn't we, in expanding the what ended up being a very long list overnight of Formula One drivers and test drivers that are involved in the race this weekend. Your attention, you drew my attention actually to earlier races here while we're looking at IMSA performance. No further additional appearances to add from what I can find immediately. But what it did remind me of is a rather significant personality that actually was one of the winners in the inaugural race in 2006. And that is one Mr. Toto Wolff.
Yes.
Was part of the, ironically, Red Bull-sponsored BMW squad for Dubai Motorsports, together with Hans Stuck, Dieter Kester and Philip Pater.
Yeah. It's a great lineup when this was really a touring car event, won by a BMW M3, and it has evolved through the last 11 years. This is the 12th edition of this race. Now, I'm hearing from Bruce Jones that it is likely to be Maro Engel to go on board the number 3 car rather than Hubert Haupt. Are you seeing a driver, therefore, Bruce, on the apron preparing to receive the number 3 car? We're about an hour into Abdulaziz Al Faisal's stint now, and getting close to there being just an hour and 10 minutes to go. They may choose to pit the car, of course, under this code 60. Paul Truswell has rejoined us. Your microphone's on my end. I'm not sure whether it is over with you.
No, it was, but I turned it off. Yes, wouldn't expect Hubert Haupt to be in the car, but either Maro Engel or Jelmer Berman would be my suggestions. Maro Engel, one of the 2 pro drivers in that car, and they had about 2 hours to go on their driving limit, so they are now well within range of being able to get to the finish without going over their driver limit. So they very much in catch-up mode in the Black Falcon team. The question I was going to ask was, how was Christopher Haase getting on with the power steering less Optimum Motorsport car, and have they put Joe Osborne into that car yet?
Yes, and Joe wasn't particularly looking forward to having to do the final stint, but that might be just to share the workload, if you like, because the power steering problem hit when Joe was in the car, and he went through turn 6, no problem at all, and then he described it as, I got to turn 7, and it felt like the world had ended, because all of a sudden he just could no longer turn the car, and he thought, blimey, have I got to get through the rest of this stint without the electrical assistance? It was tough, and he says he's okay fitness-wise. They've got a fitness advisor down there making sure that everyone is suitably hydrated in readiness for this final stint, but it's going to be hard work. Now, Bruce Jones is watching this pit stop for the number 3 Mercedes.
Mercedes, you can hit as he leaves the pit lane, and it is indeed Maro Engel. Let me explain driver confusion. Maro was sitting up on the pit balcony in the garage talking to the team boss of Black Falcon, Sean Breslin, and then I thought, well, he must be the next driver. The driver taking over from Abdulaziz Al Faisal, but then suddenly Hubert Haupt came in when it got to code 60. I think that's just team practice. Get another driver in. He got his helmet on, so it looked all as though he was going to be taking over. But Maro now in a more standard format under this code 60 will take the car to the end of the race. So the number 3, that was not the quicker of the 2 Black Falcon Mercedes. Of course, the number 2 was, but that went out at dawn. And now it's to number 3 to tilt towards that final step on the podium. Doesn't seem to have any answers as time unravels about the 2 Porsches ahead of it.
Okay, thank you. I heard in the very faint distance there a blast of the German national anthem, I think. Are rehearsals already taking place for the podium?
I should say, he's just spotted a JCB crossing the track, and indeed the teams have been warned about that. It is approaching the scene of the incident with a new stack of tyres. So I think they're going to protect that damaged barrier with rows of banded tyres rather than actually go through and complete a full repair, which does tend to indicate that that would be rather a meaty job. In fact, I think those tyres are already there, aren't they?
I think they are, Graham. Yes,
maybe bringing more still.
There is more to come, yeah. Or else they're just keeping the drivers alert to the fact that just because they've seen the JCB doesn't mean that's the end of the day. We were talking about power steering, and I have in my mind that Elmar Grimm took the car collection motorsport Audi home with failed power steering when the rest of the team were prepared to give up. And I think it was Paul Ricard 24 hours last year. And he, as I say, the rest of the team were quite happy to just say, oh, the power steering's failed, not be able to get it to the flag. There was 2 hours to go. And Elmar said, well, I've got 2 hours driving time. I'll take it to the flag. And he did. And
got a podium, A6 Am.
Exactly. Otherwise, the car would have been a retirement, or at least not scored as many points.
So another man you don't want to go and arm wrestle with together with all the flag marshals here.
So his English may be limited when he was talking to Nick Damon earlier on, but he certainly has his passion and heart in the right place. And both of those things are true of Joe Osborne as well. I'm sorry, Joe. Good to see that car, and there's nothing I can do to help, but my thoughts are with you, Joe, as you take the car around in this final stint.
The 12 car, Nick Damon, has just arrived on pit road.
And surprisingly, because I thought it would just run down for fuel, it's not, it's taking tyres as well. Now, they did have a puncture, but I think that was just previously, I think it was their tyres. They obviously decided with an hour and 7 minutes to go that they put a new set of boots for the chase, but more importantly, they brim it now. Trying to get to the end and put all sorts of muck as it just slides slightly in front of the 401, the new non-homologated BMW M4 running in SPX class. But that's oh no, hang on, no fuel, fuel, just tyres.
Was that release okay? Or looking at it from the long shot, and it was tricky to tell.
No such thing as unsafe release unless you don't hit each other, really.
Yeah, I mean, they almost needed to be two abreast, I thought, or maybe it wasn't that close.
No, he slid in beautifully. One of the things about these Porsche drivers is because they spin the wheels very expensively, I'd say. Take at least 10 quid with a tyre off it, which I'd never do. And they kind of beautifully sort of swing the thing in like they're almost like Japanese drifters, but with a point, because obviously everyone knows drifting is pointless. And then they get, but I wasn't quite sure why he was so interested in getting in the front of the queue. He then didn't go to the fuel stop. So interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
So must have enough fuel for the rest of the race then, Paul. They're not going to bring that car in again, are they?
No, it should be all right to a good, when a GT3 car is full, when I mean full, I mean the 120 litres tank full, it should do 38 laps round here, or an hour and a half. Right. So we're plenty within range of that. Now, of course, Code 60 doesn't use anywhere near full fuel anyway, so whilst they're driving around at 60 kilometres an hour at the moment, they won't be using anywhere near fuel, and we don't know how long this Code 60 is going to last, but it could easily be another 10 minutes, in which case all you're really talking about is less than an hour's worth of driving. So I wouldn't expect any car with the Code 60 in place at the moment not to make sure that they've got enough fuel on board to get them to the flag. So in effect, any stops that we see now are going to be the last stops, and no other stops should then be required, provided the teams have got no other problem, and provided they've got a working fuel gauge.
The JCB has deposited its load of tyres against the Armco, and they're now being wrangled as best as possible to protect the damaged Armco at the scene of the accident for the 340. I guess it pans back, doesn't it, guys, to a discussion we had much earlier in the race, which is they're trying to save every second they can. Every single second they can at this point. Who knows what the next 65 minutes actually holds in store? It's unlikely on past examples.
Well, I mean, the thing we've learned about motor racing is you can never take anything for granted. And there may be a point in the next hour where you think, oh, if only we'd done that, if only we'd pushed that a little bit harder. I know we've got this is sitting on this margin, but if only we'd. And so you try, even though there may be no hope of getting the podium or the win or whatever it is you're looking for, you try something to try and get a little bit of more of an advantage.
Could I suggest one other additional potential factor, which is he may well have known something we didn't, which is he may well have run through that debris field.
Yep, absolutely.
And even if he didn't, why take the risk at this stage?
The gaps are sufficient that even if I don't know if they have tyre pressure sensors on the GT3 type car, but if he just felt the car run over what might have been a bit of debris, or it might have just been a bit of pickup, then you'll have said, oh no, I think I better bring it in. And because the margin is sufficient between the first three, there isn't any very much to lose.
We had two very major 24-hour races last year, one on the very last lap. The Nürburgring 24 hours between two Mercedes-Benz, and infamously, historically almost, the Le Mans 24 hours, and the most incredible finish, one of the most incredible finishes in world motorsports. Now, who's to say that equal dramas don't await us here? There is a substantial gap, but it's not that substantial. This is a relatively short circuit. It's not going to take much of an issue for the lead car to open this race up. I've never seen so much tank tape on so few race cars. That almost looks like some kind of, you know what, that's actually better than this year's BMW art car.
I mean, that's good going, the Porsche behind, but the Clio takes the biscuit, doesn't it? Yeah, I just had a buzz from the TV truck in my ears. Here is the tape car, which we've renamed.
No. There's two better tape cars than that. The rear of the other Clio.
Yeah, true, actually. Is the 112.
The 112 is astonishing, and the 303 Leon. I'm watching that car going down the back straight at the moment, which looks like it's got one black door. It doesn't. It's all tank tape. After a massive hit earlier in the race. There you go. Thank you very much. Look at that.
That's basically a bin liner, isn't it? That has been strapped to the rear door. When your window gets popped in a late night car park.
What you do when you're the team, and that comes out of the container when you get it back to base, is you put it in the garage, you go for a pint, and then think about what you're going to do, because that is a very big job.
Yes. After an hour and a half down the pub, you'd think, oh, we've got no problems at all. Oh, no, we've still got to fix our car, the Red Camels machine. Back to green we go, though. Look how busy it is on the straight. It's like the start of the race again. The thing is, we've only got an hour and 2 minutes to go. And this is where, a bit of rub there on the front left corner of the number 12. Was it a lock-up? I hope it was.
A lock-up.
OK. Just strange that it was coming from just the front left, but yes, that was the unweighted side, I suppose, or no, very weighted side rather, as you turn in at turn one.
And not dissimilar point, by the way, to the one we're saying about these great survivors, is the car that I have to tell you after the first hour here I least expected to see at this stage of the race, and that, heroically, is the number 48 Honda.
Yes.
Which was in so much trouble in the early part of the race, and they've plugged away at it and plugged away at it. And I hope you're listening, guys. Congratulations. Whatever happens in the next 61 minutes and 19 seconds, what a great effort to pull that back from adversity and still be on track.
They're in 6th place in Class A2. Now, I know we've lost quite a number of the A2 cars. We started with...
point. We haven't lost that one.
We started with 8 of them. Certainly the number 165 Team Clio Cup France car isn't running any further.
That didn't start.
It didn't start, so it's no longer running because it didn't even take the beginning of the race. And the Team Sally racing car, which was the one that went into the back of the 112, wasn't it? So that's not running anymore. But ZRT, yes, absolutely. Their local team with the Honda Integra DC5 trying to get to the finish.
Of a finish will be as good as a win, and the war stories that will be told about this campaign, and they will come back, I'm sure, and have another go at this and learn those lessons.
Motorsport, though, that lead the way then heading into the final hour of the 12th edition of the 24 Hours of Dubai, powered by Hankook. Bright and sunny weather here once again after that long night that many I'm sure thought would never end, but at 6 minutes past 7 the sun began to rise, and all that hard work through the night to try and keep the cars going seems all the more reason to do that. And one of those cars, the 48 machine, tremendous. We went through a spell of that DC5 getting fixed, going out again and breaking down on the very next lap. Get it back again, fix it, throw it out again, and it broke down again. But there it is, in fact, being passed by the overall leader, Robert Renauer. And here is a car that has had no problems whatsoever. The same can be said for over half of last year's 24-hour series events, because it had a sublime Zandvoort 12 hours, a brilliant Paul Ricard 24, and continued the form on into Barcelona as well. Really good in Brno. They retired the car after the 12-hour mark because they'd got the required number of points for the championship. But the 911 Herbert Motorsport car, by far the best showing here in Dubai. They moved to the 991 iteration of GT3 car partway through last year. It's a very, very good decision indeed from the German outfit.
Yeah, the performance has been there throughout. The wily fox aspect of this, the stay out the fight if you don't need to be in it and keep their head. The addition of Brendan Hartley was a huge and pleasant surprise, and I think Brendan will be encouraged, but I think he'll know that he needs to do more if he's going to go and play at the Nürburgring.
Do you know what? I reckon that Brendan Hartley has probably learned more from this event than Herbert Motorsport has.
I absolutely, completely agree. Completely agree.
But that's partly a reflection on Brendan, a good reflection on Brendan,
100%.
Because he will have come into this race saying, I need to learn, and this is the team to teach me. And you just get the feeling with Herbert Motorsport that they've been open and told him how you go about winning a 24-hour race.
Absolutely.
They haven't got Kyle on the pit wall, have they?
Didn't look. The canopy's at normal kind of size, so it's not there for the tall man. So we'll wait to see. Inevitably, we'll bump into him in the airport, which we always do if he is here, but I don't think he is. My guess is we'll hear from him via Twitter if he's not. But if you're watching, one of your charges, Carl, boy done good.
But just as we talk about drivers needing to do this event, if Carl Wilson-Clark hasn't ever looked after a car, I think he needs to, doesn't he,
I think
at some point?
Time. You know, the thing about these engineers on LMP1, lazy. Yeah, lazy.
They don't do anything in the winter.
No.
A conversation with Howden Haynes once went along the lines of, have you ever done Daytona? No, but I would like to.
There you go.
That's what we want to say. I'm sure, you know what, for all the guys that I know even reasonably well, that's exactly the attitude, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
They love the challenge.
Hartley's going to be going back to Kyle and saying, this is what we need to do. This is what they do at Herbert.
Why? Good luck with that, Brendan. What's my phrase I usually use? I'll hold your coat.
We've talked a lot about the 48 car over the last 10 minutes or so, and Chris Yarwood now joins Bruce Jones in the pit lane from that car.
Time to diagnose, but the guys did a great job finding intermittent faults are the worst, you know, so they found that, tracked it down. We had a couple of little incidents in the night, a couple of come-ins together. Happens, we pressed on. We've now got some minor issues, but you know, our fingers are crossed, and I think one of your colleagues said all the bad luck was on the 13th. We got to the 14th at midnight, things are a lot better.
Now, what do you make of the Dubai 24 hours? Obviously, I gather that 24-hour racing is a bit of a passion for you.
Well, not so much for me. This is my first time. So
no, but for watching it before, you talked about Le Mans.
Yeah. I mean, I've been going to Le Mans for years, and I follow endurance racing. But I actually met the team owner in a bar. It's one of those stories. And we got together, and these guys run a great team. They're all amateurs. They're all really, really passionate about this, and they've just worked themselves
to death to get here, and we will be extremely happy if and when we get there.
The surge of emotion, doesn't matter where you finish in a 25 race, the surge of emotion, elation, and also just exhaustion, it all comes together. It's incredibly powerful, so hang on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're like this. It'll be fantastic.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Chris Yarwood.
Yeah, great to hear one of the team members, one of the drivers indeed, of the number 48 car. There is the Optimum Motorsport Audi, still in 4th place. Joe Osborne working so hard in that car. When we peer at it from the outside, it looks like it's on rails. Bear in mind that car has absolutely no power steering, and this is a very twisty track at times. So the finish feels like it's within touching distance for us commentators who've been continuing on from 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. 53.5 minutes for Joe Osborne will seem like a lifetime. There's the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo, still in 2nd position, I reckon, in SPX. Yes, it is. Ollie Webb at the wheel of the Lippert Motorsport car.
Another of the stories of the race for that team. That's that car that was rebuilt basically from an empty shell after huge damage in a free practice accident. Team missed qualifying, started from the back of the grid, made their way up to 14th position briefly before the pit stops began to wind back out again, but a great run from that team. Another one, I have to tell you, there's no way I'd have predicted that team would have made it. In fact, Ollie, in celebration of that, bangs in one of his joker laps. One other quick point, a number of people asking on Twitter what we know about Herbeth Motorsport. The answer is I didn't know a lot about Herbeth Motorsport. My ears kind of pricked up last year when they started to produce great results. And the answer is they're one of the longest established Porsche Carrera Cup teams in Germany, with a long line of alumni, including from it's Uwe Altzen, the Renaults, all sorts of guys, title-winning form, go back to the middle of the last decade. So they know how to run Porsches. They're switching their dual allegiance, if you like, now to endurance racing as well, and the rest of them better look out.
But struck by tragedy 3 years ago with the death of Alfred Herbert, who I can't quite remember, died in a car accident, possibly, the father of Alfred and Robert, and the team were left with, not unlike Rebellion in a way, with when Hugh Hayden died, the thought of what should we do? Should we close the team, or shall we keep it going? And the twins decided, no, we can't just be racing drivers, we'll keep the team going.
You're absolutely right.
As far as I know.
2012 it was, died at the very young age of 55 after a road accident in Italy.
It was a road accident, yeah.
It was, and his sons became the team managers the following year. That's when I think it's then started Friday GT Masters, and have had success there too. More power to them. We like to see teams stepping up, and boy, have they done that this time again. This will be their most major 24-hour race win if they can keep this form together for another 51 minutes.
Renault on his 555th lap right now, and Matteo Cairoli still in 2nd position from Maurer Engel in the Black Falcon Mercedes. Joe Osborne working hard in the Audi R8 from Optimum Motorsport. There was a driver change at the last pit stop for the number 76 car for the IMSA Performance Machine, with Raymond Namrak handing over to Thierry Cornac, and Maxime Jus, Mathieu Jaminet are the other drivers within that grouping. They've done tremendous work as well to get that car into the top 5. Michael Vergers at the wheel of the number 5 Belgian Audi Club Team WRT R8, and still the best placed A6 AM car is Christian Frankenhout's Hoffa Racing Machine, continuing 2017 where they left off in 16 then in that A6 amateur car.
Absolutely, looking for where the fights are available here, and the answer is it's still nip and tuck for 2nd position in GTM, A6M rather, because Fred Fatien is now ahead of Christian Kilders. It's the fight between the Renault RS01 number 27th, 9th overall, 2nd in A6M, and the Gravity Racing, the 22 Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG GT3, their 10th and third, so both in a podium position at the moment. Both will want second, and the gap at the moment is just 24.9 seconds.
Reference lap time? What reference lap time? We have jokers.
There you go. It's basically how big a gun have you got in the car at the end of this race? Now the answer is Fred Fatien. It's his car. He knows the car. But let's wait and see. At the moment, 4 seconds a lap slower, 3.5 seconds a lap slower as we watch the 246. And that's Marilyn Niederhauser getting aboard the car with the clamshell door, unique door on that KTM Crossbow Coupe. And he's strapped aboard. Extraordinary looking piece of kit. Reiter Engineering and KTM combining to produce this GT4 version, Coupe GT4 version of the KTM. We have seen the open-top version of the Austrian builds, I think these cars are.
Yeah, in Graz, I think.
Yep, and that we've in long time ago, in the early days of GT4, we had the open-top versions in GT4. Now, fairly popular, the Coupe version. The Reiter Young Stars concept went down very well, and some of these young drivers performed extremely well. And certainly eye-catching, I think, is a good word to use for the KTM Crossbow Coupe. Certainly some lessons learned, I think, by Hans Reiter and his team from their previous long history with the Lamborghini GT cars.
Yeah, KTM, obviously an Austrian manufacturer, but the KTM is assembled at their Graz plant, and had a good event in the Brno 24-hour event as part of the 24-hour series back in October, where there were a couple on show there.
Got a feeling that Hans Reiter's workshop is Austria as well.
You might be right.
I've got a feeling because I told Thomas Enger I was going to be in the region some months ago. He said, pop by, I'll take you for a night out. I decided better off it. I had my family with me. Afternoon, Thomas.
That could have been disastrous.
That could have been expensive.
Yeah, and that, yes. The MSG Motorsport car, of two of which are here this weekend. The 92 car currently still running, though, and the other one, I'm afraid, a retirement. But speaking of Austrian things, MSG Motorsport from that country, and Nicholas Rindlisbacher at the wheel of the number 92 car.
Warning for track limits to the number 12 car, indicating just how hard drivers are still trying. The fact that you have to issue a warning when presumably this is not the first time. You know, you should have told them by now they're going to get penalised when they exceed track limits. They've been into the penalty box, they've spent the 30 seconds there, and yet they're still doing what they're doing. I mean, yes, they could be trying to preserve the machinery to avoid accidents. On the other hand, it could just be that it's an indication of how hard everybody's trying.
Get Graham Goodwin's thoughts on that in a moment. But first of all, Bruce Jones down in the pit lane.
To the ZRT Honda crew, we didn't think we'd see them at the end of the race. Okay, well, we didn't think 246 Crossbow would make it because a lot of damage through the night, but the team have worked like Trojan.
Yeah, the night wasn't really our strong suit. My teammate had a few incidents on track which kept us in the box majority of the night, but the boys did an amazing job and got us back out on track. And yeah, we're just just simulating laps right now, getting experience.
But the whole point about this is the fact that it's all new, isn't it? 24-hour racing, Dubai, very steep learning curve, but you're smiling, you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course, it's been an amazing time. Yes, we've had downside to the race and everything, but you've always got to look at the positives. I did a really good start of the race. We kept on moving forward. I did some quick times, so we are there. Overall, in the end result, we aren't. But yeah, if things went our way, we got a bit of luck, then we would be. But it's always woulda, coulda, shoulda. But yeah, we're happy.
Well, you should be happy because I gather you've got a fantastic racing program ahead of us for 2017. Could you tell us what it is?
Yes, so I'm now officially racing in the Blancpain Sprint Series with my team Rider Engineering, and this was from doing the Rider Youngstar series in 2016 and the European GT4 Championships. So yeah, it's really exciting, and this is a good learning curve for me to get some experience with all the really competitive guys and you know, take it to that next level.
Well, good showing here. Well done. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. Another young star, literally in the offing there. There is the 246. I've been asked on Twitter whether or not there's a reason for that clamshell door, if you like, rather than traditional doors. Actually quite simple. The KTM crossbow is based on a carbon fibre monocoque, weighs just 80 kilos, that monocoque, and it doesn't have any doors. So you would actually be compromising the rigidity of it if you cut doors into it. So why do that if you can actually come up with that fairly neat and quite clever solution? It's also, as is pointed out, rather cool. So that is a fairly unique piece of kit. And two of them in this race, but in different classes. The other one, the SP2 class car, is on, I think, yes it is, it's on course for an SP2 podium in second position in class. This is a class leader, or certainly was last time I looked, 48th position for the Team Eva K-Rise at Peugeot. Indeed does lead A2 and by some substantial margin. The all-Danish crew. They're another team that have been stalwarts in this competition down through recent years. Initially with Renault Clios and then with the Peugeot Coupe, little 1600cc powered coupe. 42 minutes. You asked me what, for a bit of reaction to Paul's point. I think the answer is this. The gap between Cairoli and Engel is under 1.5 minutes. And I think Cairoli is in the business at the moment of delivering a message, which is, I'm not going to be messed with.
Yes.
You know, best you go back into cruise mode, I think is what the message is, because I can respond.
Yeah. Yeah, so Cairoli, an element of him driving within himself, perhaps.
But that's a psychological thing as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, completely.
You know, I mean, how did Jaguar win Le Mans in 1988? Was by a superb bit of sleight of hand, where the Porsche could have caught had it a push, but he thought that the Jaguar was running so smoothly.
Yeah.
There's a story there which you need to look up somewhere.
It's a great story. It's
yes.
one of the great Le Mans stories.
It's the video called The Lion Roars. I think
you
it's
might
all
be
right.
right,
If
yes.
you can't catch it on, when I say video,
we know what you mean.
Whatever people do instead of video these days.
Yes, we know what you mean.
Ray Blues, isn't it? I need to know a guy
I've
called
got
Ray
one on my
Blue.
radiogram.
Have you really?
My
Okay.
son found some old motoring magazines that I'd got stored away. They weren't that old. They were only from the sort of 80s. And they had adverts for blank videotapes, the Scotch video cassette, because that's what people wanted. They needed cassette tapes. Yep. And then there were radar detectors. He said, "Daddy, what's a radar detector?"
There you go, you see.
These items, which are no longer on the man's shopping list.
But Paul, I put my hands up to my first day in the office and my very first job at the age of 18. There was the first time I saw a fax machine.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. You know, it's as simple as that. Joe Collap's being burned, by the way, by the number 34 car collection Audi 203992. And just missed the one the other one was for, but I think it was the number 4 Audi with Chris Meese at the wheel. The gap, by the way, second to third came down a little bit of a chunk, down to 72 seconds, although has been a response from Mr. Cairoli.
Can we just take a brief moment to talk about, I'm sure we've mentioned this earlier on in the race coverage, but all will become clear in about half an hour's time, the digital numbers on each of the cars and the system that generates that information as well. Paul, you know a lot about this, I know, but at the moment the numbers are all displaying the car's overall position in the race.
Spa 05 is the name of the system. It might have some extra O's or zeros in there or something. It's a Belgian company, as far as I know, and they may be Dutch, and I apologise to them for that. And basically what they do is they hook into the timekeeping system, and they also hook into the units on the cars, and they simply transmit data out to the units on the cars to put the position of the car overall onto the side of the cars. There's quite a lot of of other racing series that use the same system, or different variants of the same system. Obviously, some categories, some championships would rather have class positions. You just say, I want class positions. It'll change them to show you class positions. They can display different colours. They can change colour depending on whether or not you've used your allocated boost. So it's quite a clever bit of electronic trickery that enables the car to show information about its position. So instead of having a tall scoreboard in the middle of the circuit as you used to, your scoreboard is basically the cars driving around the circuit. There is a big debate amongst purists like myself about whether these things should change actually out on the track as cars pass one another. So as number 5 goes past number 4, the numbers actually change. Other people say, oh, well, no, you should only make it change when they go past the sector time. Other people say, well, they only change when they go past start-finish. They've reached a compromise here where they change when the change happens, and also they then flash as they cross the start-finish line to draw your attention, if you're sitting at the start-finish line, to the fact that they've changed. So that's kind of a best of all worlds. But as I say, I think the trick is really to find different categories in which they can be used, and different ways of using them. As I say, there are some categories where you have to make a pit stop, mandatory pit stop halfway through the race. So what they do is they then change the position colour from red to green to indicate that you've made your mandatory pit stop. So not only is it a 1, but it's a green 1 rather than a red 1, and that means that the car has made its pit stop. So that kind of thing can be used, and as I say, the mentality is to remove the need for a scoreboard and make the car the scoreboard.
And it also keeps your audience informed, whether that be crowds on the banking at the individual circuits, or indeed, of course, it works brilliantly on television coverage as well.
And they have different intensity settings as well, because if you would have them as bright as you have them now, overnight, you would have lit up downtown Dubai by now with 90-odd sets of LEDs. So at night, you can turn the intensity down so that they don't dazzle you.
Okay. And a big hello to Hans, who is very much part of Spa 05, looking after that system this weekend. We have something a bit special planned for the final 3 or 4 laps as far as that system is concerned. We'll talk about that nearer the time, but there is the Brokenet Silverstein then, with damage on the rear.
That's the floor. I think that's the floor dragging along. It is. It's the diffuser. Now, we heard from Nick Damon, I think it was, in pit lane quite a while ago, with another horrendous mashing of the name of the Brokenet Silverstein, that there was a problem with the floor not being properly attached, the diffuser not being properly attached. It clearly isn't now, and that will be, I'm sure, a meatball flag for that car if it doesn't come astray, because that is a substantial piece of kit, and you don't want that flying around into oncoming traffic now, do you? So I think we're going to see that car. It's running. It's actually a class leader, that car.
And second class leader is, a car that is second in its class, currently coming just into the pits. That's the number 178 CWS Ginetta, which is currently second in GT4.
207, this is Wolfgang Kaufmann at the wheel of this car. It has won this class, by the way, here at least twice, and Wolfgang has been at the wheel, has been part of the crew both occasions. I apologise, I'm not aware. I'm sure there's at least one other member of the crew that has done similar. It's clearly a tight-knit team, Bovie Motorsports. Yet Van Lagen wasn't one of them. I can't believe that diffuser is still hung on in there.
It's probably weakening with every turn of the wheel at the moment, and rather hairy for the pursuing cars, because they're never quite sure when that's going to break free. But I think you're quite right that the mechanical warning flag will be being readied rather, on the starter's gantry to be waved in the direction of the Brokenet car. Silver Sting Super Wing, I think Nick Damon called it, which is
there's various things Nick's called it.
I quite like that extension to its name. Here it is again, heading into turn 14 then.
Is it gone?
No, it's still hanging loose.
Oh, it is, yes.
And extending the length of the car, but it's not going to pit on this lap to sort that problem out.
And they're going to take a good long look at this, I think. The attention is drawn indeed to that car. And I expect to see heads swivel as it comes by.
Not least because it's getting quite a bit of airtime, considering that damage, extending the length of the car by quite some distance. That is a meaty diffuser.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, there's a massive disadvantage. There it goes. And is it going to park itself? No, it's not. Going to stay on the track. It managed an entire lap and a little bit more. Of course, there's a big disadvantage because that's really going to affect the air at the rear of the car. The advantage is it's going to be lighter.
True, yes. But in quite a vulnerable position now down at turn number 1. And dare I say it, there's room yet with 34 minutes to go for another caution. We'll see how that is dealt with by the by race control and by the marshals, brave old marshals around the circuit. They may have to be super brave down at turn number 1, because the problem is with a field of cars that is still in the 50s, waiting for a gap in the traffic might be a half-hour job.
That was the same group of marshals that removed. There was a front bumper or a rear bumper that fell off on the track in exactly the same place. So possibly because the car goes a little bit light as it comes over that crest, going down towards turn 1, and changes the aerodynamic attitude of the car. And so yeah, they've done it before, and what they did was to wait until they worked out how the traffic flow was, timed it to what they thought would be a good time, put a rescue truck out, then the marshal ran out behind the rescue truck, picked up the debris and pulled it back. And to be fair, that was a larger piece of debris than the one we've got at the moment.
Okay.
So fingers crossed that can be dealt with a local yellow. Message already going out on the timing screens. That goes out to all the teams on the pit wall, and the drivers will then be able to communicate to the team engineers will be able to communicate to their drivers if they have team radio, which Charles, Espen, Laub and Putnam don't have, do they? Because they've been describing to us their fun and games they've been having, trying to do everything by braille.
Robert Taylor's just brought the Zest Race Car Engineering Seat Leon Super Copa in from 6th position in Class A3. Caught a glimpse of that in the pit lane. Now, I think we have a chance to run around the class leaders here. So, starting with the number 171 car, which is leading. That's the Peugeot RCZ. So this is the A2 class leader for Team Eva Solo stroke K Riser, and Jan Engelbrecht driving this 171 car. It's 48th overall and safely in the lead of that class because its nearest rival is 55th overall, the Shane Deegan driven Team Cook Sport Renault Clio, which had problems overnight and had to return to the pit lane via a tow rope. Now there are yellow flags at turn 1, so this is to deal with the brokenette rear diffuser. But it is only yellow flags at this point, and a warning on the screen of debris on the track approaching turn number 1, and we know all about that to drivers left.
15 laps is the gap first to second in Class A2, Johnny.
Okay, thank you for that.
I think that's fairly secure, and its position is Jan Engelbrecht with the Team Ava Solo K Riser.
Now we're on board with the Sorg Rennsport BMW M235 Racing Cup car, on board as far as the live stream is concerned. This is a car that's completed 484 laps and leads the Cup 1 part of the race. There's the recovery vehicle parked at turn number 1 then, in readiness for the recovery of this rear diffuser. The next leader is the... where are we looking at now?
Where have you got to, Johnny?
The 151 car, yes. That's the car we were just on board with, wasn't it, a moment or two ago. So there's the Sorg Rennsport Cup 1 leader, and Sorg Rennsport in the box seat here. They are running 1 and 2, although their 2 cars are separated by 6 laps. Some news from Joe Bradley down in the pit lane.
Yeah, good news for the Colin White car, the Colin White Jann. We're talking about car 178. That car's just come out after a big job. Michael Simpson can tell us what was that all about, Michael?
Oh, we had a, looks like a front right stub axle failure.
Wow, and how long did it take you guys to put that round?
Probably about 2 minutes.
That's pretty... How long does it take them in the workshop to do it? How long does it take them in the workshop to do a job like that?
Probably longer than that, so all hands on deck. Even I got my hands dirty. I didn't fall over this time.
Oh,
so
very urgent job. All right, mate, fingers crossed.
That has, though, dropped that car down to third from second. So now we've got Ginetta first and third in GT4. The Pro Sport, the number 86 Cayman, up into second position. So it's the Optimum Motorsport car, the 231 car, 26th position overall, the leading GT4. And then the 86, then now having been right up there for all the way through it, in fact it's dropped to fourth as a result of that. It's just dropped behind the GDL Racing 267 Cayman.
The next class leader we're focusing on is the Team Altran Peugeot out front in Class A3, and it's Thierry Blaise currently driving that car. Then the 308 from the 908, so another team, as in Altran Peugeot, that are locking out the top two positions in their respective classes. Sorg Rennsport doing it in Cup 1 and Team Altran Peugeot doing it in the A3 division. Third in that part of the competition is the Italian squad, Lotus Elise Cup PBR, and their PB Racing Elise is running in third place. Here is the TCR leader, and this is the brand new Cadspeed Racing with ATEC Audi RS3 LMS. Car's done 501 laps and has just less than a 2-lap lead over the Modena Motorsports Seat Leon TCR. But James Kay back at the wheel of the 108 car, as he was on two separate occasions in TCR sprint races on Friday morning. And the car's now done a further 24 hours, very nearly 24 hours of running. That's not bad for a car fresh from Audi Sport. And the initial batch of these brand new cars have already been sold. So you're going to have to get your name on a very lengthy list if you fancy one of these booted TCR cars. Obviously front-wheel drive, as all TCR cars need to be. We've had a variety of different sorts of machines here for the TCR Middle East races. There were 5 Volkswagen Golfs. This Audi is powered by a Volkswagen engine, by the way. There was a Subaru STI, and there was Alfa Romeo Giulietta. We had a couple of Seats as well. In fact, the 303 Red Camels car turned out with Kane Aston at the wheel for the 2 TCR cars yesterday morning as well. By the way, third in the TCR class is the 105 Zest Race Car Engineering Seat Leon TCR. That car is 52nd overall. The TCR leaders are separated by a couple of laps, and a look at turn 1 would tell us...
Diffuser's gone, spotted by Paul then, back to green, full circuit green, with 27 minutes left on the race clock.
Continuing our run through the class leaders, and so that's TCR dealt with. We're looking now at the class leading 207 machine. So this is the car out front in SP2, the Bovie Motorsport Brokenet Silver Sting, and it's managed to complete, I'm not sure how many laps it's completed actually. Paul will be able to tell me.
514 laps completed. It's 2 laps clear of the nearest competition in SP2, which is the 247 KTM Crossbow, which currently is in the hands of Dor Chaponic.
So this is the slightly lighter car compared to about 10 minutes or so ago when it lost its rear diffuser at turn 1. 28th overall, 32nd overall for the Reiter Engineering machine, and in third position in that class, Paul,
is the VDS Racing Adventures Mark Focus V8, car number 58, with Jose Close driving.
Thank you for that.
Just been after a further kind of detailed question. When was the last time that Porsche had a 1-2 in a GT race? A 24-hour race, rather. And I think the answer... Well, the offer, my initial offer is given the 2008 Nürburgring 24 hours.
Okay.
Beyond that, I got nothing.
And they would have been 997 spec cars, wouldn't they?
Certainly one of these cars. It's been a while since we've been in this kind of position at this kind of level for Porsche. They've had some misfortune with some of their cars. This is the 231. That is the Optimum Motorsport car. The GT4 leading car has a 5-lap advantage over the Pro Sport Cayman.
Yeah, Jörg V. Bahn at the Pro Sport Performance wheel of the Porsche Cayman Pro 04, but the car we're looking at on the live stream is Will Moore in the Optimum Motorsport Ginetta G55, and it is running in 26th position then, ahead of Jörg Wiebahn, as I say, and then the GDL Racing Team Asia Porsche Cayman GT4. There was a period, quite a lengthy period overnight, where we had Ginetta G55s locking out the top 3 positions, but the other 2 cars have slipped to 4th and 5th now.
Yep. Well, we just heard from Mike Simpson the issue for the CWS car, and that's now fallen back behind the Century car, which was the leader of the race in GT4 for several hours. Not the first time we'll have seen Ginetta in this position. There is still 24 minutes remaining, and they've only got 1 bullet left in the gun now.
Yeah. So that's the SP3 GT4 class dealt with. This is the XPX leader, GDL Racing Middle East Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. It's been a nightmare race for the Huracan GT3 cars, but the Super Trofeos are well placed in the SPX category. 537 laps completed then for the GDL Racing crew, who were in action a month ago at the Gulf 12 Hours at the Yas Marina circuit just down the road in Abu Dhabi. Car 87 leads the class then from the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan, and it's still Ollie Webb driving that number 10 machine, and in 3rd position
on the same lap,
are they,
Johnny? 41 seconds separating the number 10 Ollie Webb driven car from Rory Pettinen, who's at the wheel of the GDL car.
18th and 19th in the overall standings, and Ollie Webb just crosses the line now, as you say. 41 seconds between them. It's the FAC Autotech Porsche that is in the top 3 of SPX. Here's the 991 class leader. This is car number 68 then, the Black Falcon Team TMD friction car. Saud Al Faisal at the wheel of that. 544 laps completed, and the Black Falcon have been going so strongly in the 991 class, as they tend to do with great regularity. They had 2 cars in this category. The other one is still running, but down in 5th position.
It was after what looked like some overheating issues, wasn't it, for the 69 car?
So that has meant that the 85 Pro Sport performance car, at the moment driven by Andy Pilgrim, is running in 2nd position and 16th overall, and then in 17th place overall we've got Klaus Bachler at the wheel of the Race Pro Motorsport 991 machine. So 16th and 17th could be pretty close to one another as well. Let's just have a look. 16th and 17th.
Actually, looking that one up.
Yeah, okay.
Up the anti-app rotation up north. Thank you very much. He outbids my 2008 Nürburgring 24 Hours with the 2010 Spa 24 Hours, and won by BMS Scuderia Italia with their Porsche 997 GT3 RSR, and second in that race was IMSA Performance. So was that the last time in a major 24-hour race that Porsche scored a 1-2? Might it still be? We'll know in just over 20 minutes.
I reckon there's about 1 minute and 20 seconds between Pilgrim and Bachler, so looking reasonably safe at the moment.
I think it's even further than that, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing it on the count back, so I'm expecting Klaus Bachler across the line in 40 seconds time, Andy Pilgrim in 1 minute and 20 seconds time, so I've worked out there was about 40 seconds between them.
But different laps.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
So therefore that calculation doesn't work.
No, absolutely. Andy Pilgrim has completed 542 laps, or at least 85. The car 85 has. Car 63 has only completed 540 laps.
Yes. Thank you for that. So Bachler, no hope at the moment of getting further up than 3rd position, but nevertheless Race Pro Performance on course for a podium. There is the A6AM leader, and they've been out front for so long. This is a brand new car, remember, for Hoffa Racing. They've moved from the Mercedes SLS to the Mercedes AMG GT3. The livery has been switched from one car to another perfectly, almost as if it's been running for a number of years. But this AMG has obviously now had a year under its belt, not that specific one, but the design of the AMG has come along quite nicely in the last 12 months. If certainly compare the performance of the AMG to the 2016 edition of this race. Now, being asked on Twitter by Right Turn Lover and a few others, will there be a Spirit of the Race award today? I'm sure there will, because we always do that on RadioLeMans.com.
So let's start it.
Let's welcome your votes now. If you have suggestions for the I Respect Robin Goodman Spirit of the Race award, that's basically if a driver has really stood out for you, maybe a team, or maybe just something that happened over the last 24 hours that you feel needs to be added into a pot of suggestions, and we will pick a winner. It's purely a numbers game, so whichever gets the most votes becomes our Spirit of the Race awarded thing.
Paul points out in a note he's just passed across to us that the leading car has now led the race for 9 hours. The 911 car. That's some effort.
You only have to lead the race for 1 lap.
You do.
But it certainly helps if you've
leading the final one.
Leading the final lap, though, is aided if you've managed to lead the lap for that amount of time and built a tidy margin.
Yes, in terms of number of laps, I've given you time. In terms of number of laps, it's the last 219 laps they've led.
Yeah. But, you know, the whole point of a 24-hour race, it's judged across 24 hours, and if you can manage your way into a lead of, what is it now, a lap and a half, 570 completed by the leader, yep. 568 by Matteo Cairoli, so it'll be fewer than 2 laps.
Just as you're saying all of this, Johnny, yes. All around the world, Total LMP1's going to say, we know!
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, you spend a whole race building a lead, it can evaporate so quickly.
It can.
And you have to be out front when that checkered flag is displayed, and this is often one of the most exciting bits of a 24-hour race. Just everyone is listening out. If they're driving their cars right now, each of those drivers listening out for the unusual noises, the bangs, the clangs. The 911 car is looking supreme, though, almost as if it's on its opening lap. Yeah, OK, it looks a little bit untidy as far as the paintwork's concerned, but it's been out there for so long, and the 911 car heading over the line once again. We have 17 minutes to go, and a comment from Bruce Jones down in the pit lane.
Throw the chicken away, and out it goes again. But it's very battered. And if you take a look at that car after the race, it's so much narrower at the rear than it should be. There's just no bodywork, but it's all tank tape, but they're still going. So hats off to them. Perhaps they go into the category for the Robin Goodman Award, the Spirit of the Race.
I think so.
That's a good call. It would be great, by the way, Vincent Voss came down and asked them whether or not they want fines with that.
Big incident down at turn number 1 and smashes into the barrier there. That was one of the Caymans, which I thought we'd caught the back end of that incident, and this is down into turn number 1, which brings another code 60 out. That was a replay. The incident had already happened.
Meanwhile, the 105 Seat, as we try to work out what's gone on there, is into the penalty box. So the track goes quiet as the cars all come down to obey code 60.
Meanwhile, as we work out exactly the car that is involved down there, let's get a quick word from Joe Bradley in the pit lane.
Hey guys, with this incident, I'll quickly give you my nomination for Spirit of the Race. One, Brendan Hartley, World Endurance Champion. He didn't have to come here to this race, but he wanted to. Do you know why? Because he's a racer. What spirit that shows, and he didn't he pick the right team? Fingers crossed, of course.
He'd done his research, hadn't he? Clearly he'd been following RadioLeMans.com's coverage of the 24-hour series to know.
Johnny, you know, we followed the series last year, and the Herbert team just impressed me every single time. Back-to-back wins, Zandvoort, Paul Ricard and Barcelona were just faultless, and they just know what they're doing. They don't get dragged into any early races. with other competitors. They're not bothered that they're not on the pole position. They just get on with racing over 24 hours and over long distances, and they know exactly what to do, and it bears fruit.
Yeah. Yep, good shout, Joe. Thank you for that. So you can agree with Joe or Bruce, or maybe go play your own furrow and come up with a suggestion for the Spirit of the Race Award.
It's the 86 car, we're being told by Race Control. It's the second place car in GT4, the SP3 GT4 car that is off the track and into the barriers.
Jörg Wiebahn. We were talking about him just a moment or two ago, being in second position in SP3 and GT4. That was a frightening moment.
That was a big
where
moment.
The car has attempted to turn at turn number 1 and just absolutely sideways clanged the barrier.
Well, it's these moments you don't like to be right that drama can happen in the final half an hour, but it almost always seems to do that. So code 60. So we'll wait and see the net result of that. We've seen nothing since the car. It will remain until at least 13:50. That's going to take us pretty close to the end of the race.
It is, yeah. Francis Chia there giving us a wave from the Modena Motorsports 216 car. A chance, Graham, for us to see this incident again, and
Looked
the
like he
car's
did it by
already
himself.
lost it. Oh yeah, he's on his
Turn one.
own. Absolutely, Jörg Wiebahn. It's a strange one. I mean, it's illustrative of just how quickly the cars are going at the end of the straight, rather, and they should be slowing for what is a quick corner at turn 1, downhill approach. And obviously you need to get the car tucked in nicely to set it up for the run over the curb at turn 2. There is quite a bit of runoff there, but obviously with no gravel trap at turn 1, then at unabated speed, the car slaps its way into the barrier, fully sideways. And that will be a big shock for Jörg Wiebahn. Recovery crews, medical crews quickly on the scene there. Yes, this code 60 is going to continue for at least another 2.5 minutes and probably longer.
Well, while this is all going on and while we're effectively neutralised race, lots of nominations coming in. Keep them coming. There's lots of food for thought and discussion here. Some rather unusual ones coming in and some fairly predictable ones in and some very nice ones coming in too.
Here's another shout from Bruce Jones.
Well, they're not winning the race, but they're still in it. How about the car that didn't turn a wheel until about Wednesday this week, and it did the 2 TCR Middle East races as well. The Cadspeed Racing with ATEC, the brand new Audi RS3. And James Kay said before, we just got to get through the TCR races, and then he got stuck in, as only a touring car racer can do. And yet here they are. The car looks super clean. Through the night, it was still here this morning, still going, so they get a nod from me.
That's a good call as well. Lots of drivers getting a shout, and it's not necessarily the drivers at the end of the professional ladder that Brendan Hartley operates in. JT Kapal getting a mention here. Brandon Godovic getting a mention too for being ever present in every race we've seen.
Leiper Motorsport in general, but particularly for the effort on the Lamborghini number 10,
Correct,
which
Armando,
very
yes.
nearly didn't get a race at all.
Absolutely.
Was put back together again.
The little Renault Clio team that's had the short tail running for
the list
all
is
of the morning.
endless.
It's absolutely fantastic stuff. Ollie Webb being nominated for number 1 for that effort at the start of the race in the Lamborghini. 81 places gained in his first stint. He has, afraid, had those 2 race suits stolen. So if anybody does see anybody with an Oliver Webb race suit, please do bring it to the attention of someone who can do something about it.
And I think the medical vehicle is just working its way away from the scene together with the car, actually. So the recovery of that number, remind me of the number, 85, did we say?
It's the 86 car.
86 car is the car itself on the back of a flatbed there, just working its way around the shortcut. There are various configurations of this Dubai Autodrome, and they provide different ways of getting back to the paddock for the recovery vehicles. Now, we were talking a short while ago about SPAA05, who are the company that sort out these digital numbers on the cars. And hello to Hans, who's looking after this digital number system. And I know listening now live to RadioLeMans.com, for the final 10 minutes, what's going to happen is that they're going to show their class position instead of their overall position. And at my word, apparently, I'm going to click my fingers and bang, they're going to change and tell everyone, therefore, whether it be on TV or here at the track, where those cars are within their relevant classes. The 911 car we know leads the way from Matteo Cairoli and Mauro Engel, but it'll also tell you that the number 1 machine will be leading A6 AM. We'll have a number 1 on the side of the number 68 car to tell us it's in the lead of the 991 class, and likewise for the various other class leaders as well. That's a little special thing that we can do for the final 10 minutes. Chaps.
And it's just done it now.
Isn't technology clever?
There you go. Either that or the Attempto Racing Porsche has come up right up through the field without us noticing it to 6th.
So the Code 60 is going to be continuing.
No, within
it's
a minute.
Not. It's going to be withdrawn within a minute.
We're going to get something over 5 minutes of green flag running, we hope.
And on the subject of positions and green flag running, if there have been any offences committed for which penalties haven't been taken, there's nothing particularly special, but we will have an issue of the results eventually produced, which will hopefully be done before we do the podiums, which will have the correct positions on. But there may be some time penalties applied, which they haven't had a chance to take by coming into the pit lane to do them.
Right then, back to green flag racing. And Porsches, Ginettas, the Corvette still there, the Clio short tail. Anybody that's joining us just for the finish here, we should explain that was rammed by another of the Clios, very heavily indeed, and it's got massive damage at the rear, but the team have, well, taped it back together, and it's actually been remarkably reliable since then. Yeah, it was 48 Honda, that's another story and another potential, in fact, an actual nomination for Spirit of the Race after their early race woes. Sorry, Johnny?
It was a spin for Nicholas Oskarsson, the Swedish driver, and as he was trying to get that Stanko and Tanner Motorsport car pointing in the right direction at turn 14, fumbling around to get the car restarted and find first gear, around the corner came the Team Sally Racing machine. And it was Michael Westhaver at the wheel and nowhere to go. I mean, yes, you could have gone left or right, but because he was fully committed into turn 14, he slammed on the anchors, but it wasn't enough, and the car piled into the back of the little white Clio, and we had 2 damaged Cup cars right on the spot there. Thankfully, both guys okay. But the amount of damage done to the rear of that 112 car, because basically it's a lot of air, it's crash structure and designed to do that. Full marks to Nicholas to get the car back to the pit lane pretty swiftly. Okay, it was happened in a fairly convenient part of the track with only turns 15 and 16 to negotiate to get the car back to the team, but they have done stellar work to turn that car around quickly. Used a lifetime subscription of tank tape to get the thing fixed, mainly to keep that tailgate into position, and multicoloured tank tape as well.
Absolutely, and Ian McCarthy is amongst a number of people who nominated tank tape for the Spirit of the Race.
Where would we be without that?
Revelite, the company that essentially invented it, it really has got staying power, hasn't it? It's been hours since that car hit that. We've got the number 172 Renault Clio on pit road as well in the final 6.5 minutes, in just a tick or two away. We've got the SPX leading pair, by the way, on the same lap. The 2 Lamborghini Super Trofeo separated by under a minute.
Okay, so that's something to keep our eye on. Yeah, 44 seconds. First and second in SPX, so maybe not all over for the GDL Racing Middle East crew, with Ollie Webb really pushing hard here in the Lippert Motorsport machine. Problem is he's only got 6 minutes to go. He is lapping sometimes 2, sometimes 1 second faster than Rory Penttinen.
We could have some real drama here in GT4, and it's been pointed out by Right Turn Lover, who seems to be omnipresent on this, that the 267 car, which is the second place car in GT4, could be over his driver's time.
Okay.
And I think that's been confirmed in terms of the data you've got, Paul.
Yes, yes. No, he's an hour and 55 minutes now into his stint. He's got 6 minutes to go to get to 2 o'clock. And as I explained at some point during the race doesn't end at 2 o'clock. It carries on until the leader crosses the line, having completed 24 hours of racing. So he then has to go around, and if you're stuck in the wrong place, you may end up actually having to run a little bit longer than that still.
Well, this is real drama. And the reason it's real drama is because the third place car is only 23 seconds back. That is the 229 Century Motorsports Ginetta. The fourth place car is less than a minute and a half behind. If he doesn't pit, he'll lose a podium. If he does pit, he might lose a podium.
So, and in any case, the best bet is to kind of not finish the race, as it were, pull off. Then you won't actually go over your race limit. Just pull off at 2 o'clock and just don't finish the race.
Right.
Because you'll be classified. You'll have still completed your 60%. Yeah. But he will be overtaken. So, yes, he'll lose his podium.
But he'll be overtaken by both the cars. Yes. We'll lose the podium.
Lose the podium in any event.
So, there you go. We said about drama. It's all happening at GT4. We had, 10 minutes ago, a podium that was Ginetta from 2 Porsche Caymans. I'm afraid one of them has had drama of the most unfortunate kind with the hit with the tyre barrier. The 99 Honda Civic, by the way, is under tow and on the way into the pits.
Little bit of a drama for the second-placed Team Cook Sport Renault Clio car in the second place in A2, that is, because they've had a late race puncture, but it looks like Shane Deegan got the car back to the pits reasonably well without doing too much damage to that little Clio. They've turned it round, they've changed the Hankook tyre, they may have changed all 4 in fact, and sent it out again, and it had a sufficient distance ahead of the Team Sally Racing Danish Cruise Clio. Slightly older Cup car, Mark III rather than the Mark IV run by Cook Sport. Shane Deegan retains his second position.
So, 3.5 minutes to run. Could this be?
And there's damage to be repaired here on the number 99 car as well. That's coming on the end of a tow rope, hasn't it?
Has that damage been done by the tow, or has that car been off? We've not seen damage done by these recovery crews before. I thought that car was running slowly, you know, even behind the on this code 60. Sorry.
Joe Bradley is down there watching it all unfold.
Yeah, that's definitely got in front end first. Showing 5th in class, the 99 car. We talked to Tom Gannon earlier on this morning, and he told us the catalogue of character building events, and it's got massive front end damage. We've got a lot of oil residue. It's broken oil cooler, or worse still, a lot of black oil residue on the front right. It's gone off in a big way. I'm not sure who the driver is. I think it's David Drinkwater. Yeah, it's David Drinkwater. So a terrible finish for the 99 TGM car, the RKC TGM entry. Ricky Coomer and Tom Gannon coming together with their services, combining forces to put this car together. We will see them back out at Silverstone, though. Simon Dayton is one of the drivers. Mate, I've got no words.
That's cruel. We don't get much crueler than that. Gutted. It's been a really hard weekend. We've done as much as we can. We've had a few hits that we didn't really deserve, you know. Well, it's the nature of the game here. It's a busy race, and that's just gutted me.
It really has. My apologies for finally getting to talk to you in such circumstances.
I thought you fell out with me.
I could never find you. We're always on Facebook.
No. Oh, that's good.
Oh, mate, there's no words.
It's just a big kick in the you-know-where. That.
Yeah. Do you know what would happen? What happened?
I don't know. I don't suppose. We're just packing up in the back, and they saw the car come in, so just seeing it. Well, that's.
Mate, I know. Not even that. Simon, bad luck, mate. Commiserations. They really are. You know what? Spirit of the race. These guys should get it every time.
Yes,
these guys do the 24-hour series, and each time they've got such spirit and such a good atmosphere in that team. Work hard, play hard.
Yeah, that was Simon Deaton that Joe had just been speaking to. David Drinkwater then on board the number 99 RKC TGM Honda Civic, and it's just 24-hour racing biting you when you think it might just all be over. They're all in the back, John, packing the flight cases, ready to prepare themselves to get back home, of the cars in. And it's not going to make the finish. If there are just 40 seconds to go, and the 911 Porsche is heading up towards the kink at 13. It's going to sneak one more extra lap out of this, I think.
Yes, it will. We'll get to lap 578, I reckon.
Which gives me a quick chance to say thank you to a few people. Our whole team have done a great job. So gentlemen, thank you very much for that, the responsible adult, as well as Ulf, our technical conduit, and Philip as well, who filled in for Ulf when Ulf was doing other things, as well, of course, as everyone down at 0221, our TV partners for this event, 0221 Media Group. It goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, Kravennik, Natasha, Daphne, Gary, Ivo and everyone else have done a great job and made us welcome. And from the people who waved us in through the gate and helped us park our cars, all the security staff and everybody here, people who've emptied the bins at Dubai Autodrome, brilliant. And of course, we couldn't do it without Phil. Fabulous Phil up here as well. Thank you to Graham Goodwin and to Stephen Kilby from dailysportscar.com. And I was very serious about what I said early on. Do not change the spirit of this event. It doesn't need to become just another GT3-a-thon. Then it wouldn't be different. The one thing about the Kravennik events is they have their own atmosphere and their own personality, and part of that is the vagaries of how they do things. I know some people don't get the bracket times, some people don't get all the classes, some people don't understand it. Then don't come and race, that's fine. Leave it to the people who actually want to do it and enjoy it. I'll leave it to you boys to, hey Johnny, bring them home.
Thank you, John. I get the reference, and I'm sure one or two other people do as well. The 911 car then working its way through turn 11 now, and Precoat Herbert Motorsport had a spectacular year last year in 16 with a victory at the 12 Hours of Zandvoort. They went on to win at Paul Ricard Le Castellet for the 24-hour race down in the south of France, moving to Catalonia and the 24 Hours of Barcelona with a victory there, and got the required points in the Czech Republic at Brno. As the car then works its way into turn 14, it's not very far away from lapping a slow-looking Joe Osborne. Remember, he is struggling with the power steering. He's probably backed it off.
He's waiting for the Ginetta.
Yes, and waiting for the Porsche that's going to come through the final corner then and head over the line to receive the checkered flag. And a faultless race from the 911 Porsche, which has not had a problem for the last 24 hours. That is how you boss the Dubai 24 Hours, powered by Hankook. Precoat Herbert Motorsport with Robert Renauer at the wheel, but do not forget Brendan Hartley, Daniel Ellerman, Ralph Bone and Alfred Renauer. And very quickly down to the pit lane to Bruce Jones, who has Brendan Hartley with him.
Brendan Hartley, your first 24-hour victory. Is this going to be a theme this year?
The jump on Hofer.
I hope so, mate. Yeah, really did do an awesome experience. First time on a GT car for me, first time on a Black Lemon. Yeah, great teammates, great team, really enjoyed it. Yeah, hopefully that form continues on to the WEC.
Just do the job, don't they?
They were great, mate. You know, they're true professionals, and all the teammates pulled together, and very cool, mate. Very happy to be a part of it.
And it's great. Daniel Adderman comes down here. A quick word with Daniel. Daniel, great result there for you.
Yes, greatest
Well, maybe you have some more this year. Thank you. Well done. So as you see, great celebration on the wall, but soon the cameras will be out in the pit lane. But this means a lot. This is the biggest win yet for Herbert Motorsport. Look at the joy up on the pit wall.
And this is the first victory for Porsche for a little while now in this race. The brand new 991 iteration of the GT3 car then victorious, and it's taken a little while to get that right, I think, especially when we think about the AMG, and that's taken a good year to become, or well, 6 months to become a winning machine. And we look back through the annals of time then to see cars victorious at this event. It was 2014 when we last saw a Porsche at the top of the podium. That was the Stadler Motorsport example with the 997 edition. We've had then 3 different manufacturers in the last 3 years winning this race. Mercedes-Benz in 15, Audi R8 in 16, and now the new 991 iteration of the Porsche in 2017. It's been quite some time since BMW stood at the top of the podium. That was 2011 with Augusto Farfus, Edward Sandstrom, Tommy Milner and Claudia Hurtgen. We're going to get some reaction with Joe Bradley down in the pits with the #1 car, because we're talking an awful lot about the A6 Pro winners and Herbert Motorsport, but Hoffa Racing get themselves an A6 AM win, Joe.
They have indeed a class win once again for Hoffa Racing. Michael, you must be very proud of the team once again. #1 with the #1 car.
Yeah, it's first race with a new car. We get the same position as last year. P1 in the amateur class, P7 in the overall, so what do we want more?
Tell me your reflections on the race at this point. What will you take away from the weekend?
That we had very much luck with our other car. It's completely destroyed, but our driver luckily survived. And the new Mercedes is reliable. Lots of accident, but still good for P1.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, Michael Kroll. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's another one of our class winners dealt with. The 911 car deliberately going offline now to make sure that the ride height, there's no questions about that being below the relevant tolerance, picking up plenty of pickup and sand, which is still across the track. We had that sandstorm, didn't we, yesterday at roughly this sort of time?
We did. We've got
down
a lot
the
more
main
of it
straight.
now, actually, coming across the circuits from turn 1 across the pit lane, making life, I'm sure, uncomfortable just down that way. But how many stories there, really? So we've cleared up the two A6 classes.
Yeah, well, it will take us the next week to get to the bottom of them all, I'm sure. But Hoffa Racing and the A6 Pro crew, Herbert Motorsport, taking the victory in those classes. It's a victory in 991 for the Black Falcon team and TMD Friction with their number 68 Porsche. But we're going to get a bit more from Joe Bradley with the TCR winners.
TCR winners and also nominated for the Spirit of the Race award by Bruce. Finley, sorry, I forgot your second name.
Hutchison.
Finley Hutchison. What a victory for this Audi A3. What was it like to drive?
It was amazing to win it on our first race. It was also my first race in a tin top, so...
Oh, wow, so you're a single-seater driver?
Yeah, for sure. So it's amazing just to come here and win it.
So not only that, but is this your first endurance race?
Yep, it is. First time over 30 minutes, so...
Wow, so what do you think? What's your thoughts? Going to do any more?
Oh, I loved it, yeah. I'll definitely be back to do more.
So it must be nice actually passing cars, which is something you do very rarely in single-seaters.
Oh, yeah, for sure single-seaters right now is a bit... like, in this, it's a lot better. You're passing different classes, and you've also got to watch for the faster classes behind you. But, yeah, it's mega.
Well, any stories to take from the weekend? I mean, there's a season worth of stories in 24 hours, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's similar driving to what I get in a full season of Formula Renault, which is what I done. So, yeah, we had the power steering fail, so that made it quite tough, but yeah, it was great.
It's going to be greater when you're on that podium, mate. Well done, Finley.
So another car with power steering failure, and that should not be overlooked. The Audi RS3 coming home to be victorious for Cadspeed Racing with ATEC in their first event ever with that car, brand new from Munich.
P1, P2, P3 were flashing up on the driver ID, or the position IDs. Brendan Hartley there with his teammates, and Carl Wilson-Clark was indeed watching this race. Has just tweeted through his congratulations to the whole of the Herbert Motorsports team. First 24-hour win of the season, hoping for more at Porsche team. And congrats to Brendan Hartley. What remains to come for the rest of the endurance racing season for that crew and for young Brendan. Well, that was a different sort of endurance race. At times it wasn't pretty, but that was one heck of a performance from the 911 crew, and rightly delighted. We haven't covered off yet, Johnny, the GT4 results, and that, I think, is still a little up in the air because of the issue that was pointed out earlier. The second place car may be in driver time trouble, so we'll wait and see, but certainly at the moment, the win looks like it's gone to the Optimum Motorsport crew.
Yeah,
and that's one of the stories of the race, that crew, both in the leading class, if you like, and in GT4, Johnny.
Stuart Lynn, Aid Barwick, Dan O'Brien and Will Moore doing the driving. Optimum Motorsport, as you say, running the team, the G55 GT4, completing 531 laps. And yes, you say, there's a little bit of doubt as to where that 267 car that finished second on the road will be classified in the final results. The Porsche Cayman GT4 from GDL Racing.
Now, this is going to be a bit of history here. If you've not seen this race before, stick with this, because something will happen here that is absolutely unique. The winning drivers are on that Golf buggy, but if you keep with this shot in a few seconds' time, you'll see why. Many people have been fans of sports car racing and GT racing will be familiar with the phrase Camel GT, but not like this.
Indeed. The flag of Saudi Arabia now being draped over the number 3 car over the windscreen. Great work from Abdelaziz Al Faisal towards the end of that race, and we shouldn't forget about the other drivers in the number 3 machine for Black Falcon: Hubert Haupt, Jelmer Berman, Michael Broniszewski and Maurel Engel. Disaster for the number 2 car, the other Black Falcon Mercedes AMG, but the 3 machine manages to make it onto the podium. These are the shots that Herbert Motorsport will cherish over the next year. It promises to be, again, a really good 24-hour series year for them, but this is the real keystone event where the season kicks off with the big one, and they've got that under their belts, John Hindhaugh.
Still haven't had anything other than a German victory in terms of the manufacturer, so we'll hear that national anthem. In fact, that's what will play us out of our broadcast, but that's the first time that a full season entrant in the shape of a full season entrant to the FIA IES, or what preceded it, the Creventic, has won this blue riband race. And a little bit of a change this weekend, because René de Boer, who normally acts as master of ceremony so excellently for us here, has been very busy in the press room and had asked if we could help him out to do the podium presentations. It'll be Nick Damon who will take you through the formalities. Nick is waiting at the moment, and the camels, Nick, are on their way to you. So we'll hand over to you for the formalities, with thanks again to all of our London staff, as well as everyone here, everyone who's supported us as well, of course. Back on Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock UK time, radiolemans.com, midweek motorsport. And then it's Miami and Race of Champions for me. Our next broadcast of endurance racing from the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and then Bathurst the following 2 weekends. Thank you very much indeed. And Nick, I know you've wanted to do this for a very long time. The camels are on their way to you. So Nick Damon now has the PA, as we have some final thoughts from our studio here. I've just about got away with this, with the sand blowing through. You didn't get your 3 different manufacturers on the podium, Paul. Very close. 3 in the first 4.
Yeah,
I'll give you 8 out of 10 for that.
Well, I had 3 in the first 4 for quite a long time into the race, but yeah, it was not a classic race, but a thoroughly enjoyable and engaging race. We never knew quite what was around the next corner, in so many meanings of the phrase. A fantastic result for Herbert Porsche. I think they've really done themselves proud over the last, shall we say, 9 months, because it's not just a race that they've done, it's a steamrolling of this whole series, and I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job. And top marks to Brendan Hartley's attitude as well. I mean, he's obviously pleased as punch. He's come here to win, but he could have easily sort of said, oh no, I need to take the car to the finish. But none of that was ever really going to happen. And a great effort put up by Manthey Racing. It was spoilt for them a little bit by Otto Close, who damaged the car, although I don't think he actually wasted enough time on that pit stop and accident to I mean, it would have been very, very close otherwise, and then all sorts of things could have happened. But those two, a great race. Great disappointment for the Black Falcon team losing number 2 car. But, you know, there's a story behind every car, as there always is with a 24-hour race like this. The battles were not only for the overall positions, they were for the classes. We had 3 cars on the lead lap well into 2/3 into the race. And
12th running of this race. There's a great throng beneath us. There will be many podiums, many podia, should I say, as many people have won their classes. And now will come the slight delay whilst we wait to gather everybody.
His Highness Sheikh Juma Al Maktoum will do first. Dubai Autodrome Chairman and Senior Manager Operations National at Dubai Autodrome.
Right.
Okay.
So as the drivers The many hundreds of drivers who will appear on the podium, it seems, are coming up the stairs behind us. And our local dignitaries are getting ready to join us here. It's an interesting shuffling job to get the correct drivers up here for the podium. We need to get the cameramen through. I'm now going to act as gatekeeper. The waiting room is growing. Still waiting for all our top three for the main overall race podium. Hello, everyone. Hey! Did we all enjoy it? Are we all really tired? Yes. Hands up if you got some sleep last night. Well, that's not doing it properly. If you don't sleep in a car or not at all. It is a well-known fact that trying to get drivers all together for a podium ceremony is actually harder than herding cats. There will always be one, or in this case 15. Okay, everyone, and now it's time for the podium ceremonies for the 12th running of the Dubai 24 Hours here at the Dubai Autodrome, and sponsored, of course, by Hankook. And we are going to start with our third place overall finishers, and that is the Black Falcon car number 3, which is Abdulaziz Al Faisal, Hubert Haupt, Jelmer Bourbon, Michael Bronzeski, and Mauro Engel. In second place, from Manthey Racing, the car 12, the Porsche 991, it's Otto Klaus, Sven Muller, Matteo Chiaroli, and Jochen Kronbach. And your winners of the 12th running of the Dubai 24 Hours from Herbert Motorsport with a Porsche 991, it's Daniel Alleman, Ralph Vaughan, Robert Renauer, Alfred Renauer, and Brendan Hartley. And now, the national anthem of the winning entrant. And to present the trophies to our third finishing team is Abdullah Abdulaziz, the Senior Manager, Operations and National Liaison for the Dubai Autodrome, and he'll be presenting the trophies to Black Falcon, Abdulaziz Al Faisal, Hubert Hout, Jelmer Berman, Michael Brunzeski, and Mauro Engel. And to present the trophies for our second place finishers, it's the chairman of the Dubai Autodrome, Ali Fardan Al Fardan, and he'll be presenting them to Manthey Racing, Otto Kloss, Sven Muller, Matteo Chiaroli, and Jochen Krombach. And to present our winners with their trophy, it's His Highness Sheikh Juma Al Maktoum, and he'll be presenting to Herbert Motorsport, Daniel Alleman, Ralph Vaughan, Robert Renauer, Alfred Renauer, and Brendan Hartley. And it takes two people to bring on the actual overall trophy. It's a big one, everyone. I've just been told this is a returnable, this is a trophy for 1 year. They have to bring it back next year, so that's the luggage allowance gone on the flight. Let's have a round of applause for our top three finishers. And now, even more excellent news, I'm going to talk to some of them. No, Robert, you took the car home, a great win, and it's the first win at the Dubai 24 Hours for a full season entry team.
Yeah, fantastic for us to win here. First of all, thanks to our team and also to Porsche. And for sure, Brendan, who's joining us for this event. Thank you, Brendan. Yeah, we are very happy and yeah, just very happy.
And I'll just move across to the interloper, Brandon. So you won a 24-hour race then?
Yeah, it was awesome. Big thanks to Herbert Motorsport and the four other guys beside me. They were awesome today. Team strategy was perfect, no real mistakes, so that's what won the race. And I thoroughly enjoyed my first experience in a 911, and I'm hoping to be back next year.
And it'll make winning in June much easier, won't it?
Yeah, get the first 24-hour win.
out of the way. So hopefully that bodes well for a good year.
Brandon, thank you very much. And finally, another round of applause for our top 3 finishers. Now, everyone, do not go anywhere, because you've also all won the same trophy in A6 Pro, so more stuff for you. Now, I'm not actually sure how you're actually going to get off here, because certainly Herberth, they've got 2 trophies each and the world's biggest trophy. So you might need to, the team's got more to do than just pack up the car. So this is now the A6 Pro, because it is obviously the same as the overall, top 3 cars all being in the Pro class. And these trophies are being very kindly handed out for us by Charles Meiselman of BRM Watches and Manfred Sandbeicher from Hankook. Okay, I'm now going to ask you all to do something that's quite difficult. Can you all raise all your trophies for the pictures? Oh no, one more. Oh, I've jumped the gun. Sorry, everyone. There are too many trophies. I can't count to 103. It's a long day for all of us, yes, Sven. Absolutely. Are we okay? Are all trophies given out? Mr. Williams, who runs the whole show? We okay for the raise all the trophies?